All right, what's going on, everybody? This is the Underground Runaround. I'm Brad Ross. We got our co-host extraordinaire, Pav Daddy. Oh yeah, with the Cubs hat on, and our guest, Brett. Brett, I'm gonna let you tell them your name. Go ahead, Brett. Tell them.
Brett Common Solely. I've heard it a million different ways, but it's Common Solely.
See, I didn't know that. I've known Brett for 4 years.
It's a tough one.
I Comincioli.
Yeah.
I've heard it every way.
It's Italian.
So I'm not offended by any means by the wrong way. It was when I got my first job, it was even spelled wrong on my check. So
I get that a lot.
I could spell it right. I just couldn't say it. Anyway, Brett, we're bringing you on, bud. You're like a PSA expert of sorts. So we're gonna use you and pick your brain and get some knowledge for the hobby today. At least that's the plan.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed your guys' first couple episodes. It's been fun to listen to when I've had a couple breaks here and there.
So let's start off with this, because the last episode I got awfully wordy about me, where I come from, how I got involved with the hobby. Brett, I want you to tell us how you got into the hobby, but first we're going to let Pav kind of give us some background on the hobby, because he needs to do that. So Pav, when did you get into the hobby, bud? As an adult, anyway.
Obviously, I got into it as a kid. I think most of us did. And then with the big bust of the old school baseball cards, I kind of fell out of it. And then with the Cubs resurgence and looking for a Chris Bryant autograph, kind of got back into it. Found some cards at Walmart. I think you kind of did the same thing. And 2017, it was the end of 2017, bought some cards at Walmart, pulled some Aaron Judge rookie cards, was able to flip them for some money. And I'm like, hey, man, this is cooler than when I was a kid. All of a sudden you had eBay and Facebook as avenues to kind of move stuff. Makes it a little more enjoyable. So, that really got things going in a rush. And obviously, once you get onto Facebook, you start seeing a lot of the group breaks and stuff, and got into the group breaks big time in 2018, and obviously was chasing a lot of the rookies then. So kind of been going at it since.
Hell yeah. What about you, Brett? What got you into the hobby?
I'm really similar to you guys, where the Cubs resurgent kind of got me back into it, where I went through a divorce and had a little extra money and walked into a store and like, all right, I'm going to get some cards. And that was around 15 and 16 when the Cubs were as hot as could be. And then it just kind of slowly projected to selling more, buying more, selling more, buying more. And then Pav Daddy, I want to thank you, because I did my first ever sub of PSA through you. Brad recommended me. And I know what kind of work it takes now. And you did an awesome job. And we're so upfront about everything, where the dates and when they came back, do you want to see your grades? And it's not I thought it was impossible, but just to spend the time to enter those things in. And I don't know, how do you feel about this, Pav, where you send cards out for, because I did a sub for one of my friends, and it's a lot of money that you're talking about in cards. And you're a little stressed about the transporting them there and getting them back. And then how do you feel about that?
So I ship a lot of stuff every day, and I will say for the most part, UPS, FedEx are going to take care of you. UPS more so than the others, I would say, is a lot more reliable, but FedEx and UPS both have pretty good track record. I do insure everything when I send it, and it gets pretty pricey. So at that point, I kind of pile it on. But at the same time, what happens is they're there so long that maybe you put $15,000 insurance, and by the time your stuff's graded, it's worth $50,000. And that's when it gets a little stressful, because it's like, man, a forklift or something drives over them things. I only got $15,000 insurance, and there's $50,000 of cards there. So it gets a little stressful, but I'd say that the biggest thing is when you're subbing for a lot of people, everybody always asks, hey, what's going on? Hey, what's going on? And, I tried, when I got an update, I gave the update. And with the way that grading is now, good luck getting an update that actually means anything.
Yeah,
It's just so long. It's like, send your cards, be patient. It's going to be at least 9 months when you're talking bulk for anything.
yeah. Getting like to that. The one thing I appreciate with you is just again the upfront. The serial numbers are right in a row. I could send a base Soto to you and trust. Like this is for the people watching too. Like if you're going through group submitters, I mean, what's there to say that somebody doesn't take your mint Soto and puts a junk Soto in there and keeps it for themselves? Like, and that's kind of I think some people have been duped in the past by that.
I would agree 100%. And we're not going to name names or anything, but Uncle Phil, Spence Langley, I'm not afraid to name drop him. He's the person. He actually tried to invest in my business when I got going before we ever started doing card grading. But I think we all know about a particular room on Facebook that had a big scandal with grading cards and lack of funds to grade cards, sending the cards to someone else without the original owners knowing to then middleman the grading experience. Long story short with all of this, after all of the fallout, before any of that ever happened, I remember that person had successfully sent cards to grade before they ever got in trouble. They had made a few submissions and did everything on the up and up, or so we thought. And Spence reached out to me one day, and he asked me that specific question. And I think it was a 93 Jeter. And it's pretty common card. They didn't have, too many serial numbered cards even then. They had the Jeter, they had the 93 gold version of that card to go along with the regular. And he asked me, he said, how do I know that the person didn't swap my card out? I said, well, if they weren't very transparent about the process, it'd be very hard to know that. If the person that's doing the group submission on your behalf takes in a lot of cards at once and does a big high volume of cards, chances are they're going to have multiples of the same card, and especially with base cards. With parallels, you can at least track your serial number. You don't have to tell somebody. This is a way you could protect yourself potentially, depending on how in-depth the person submitting for you does their notes. So you could send any serial numbered card, even if it's a gold flagship number to 2021 for the sake of this year. If you write down what number that is, and then when you come back and a guy gives you a card and it's a different number, then you can know. You can kind of protect yourself that way, but that's not something I would disclose to the submitter when you send it. Don't tell them that you even know what number card you sent them. Just send them your cards and then keep that as kind of your safety net. But with the base cards, man, Spence was very convinced. He got back like a 5 or a 6, and he was pretty confident that his was in better shape than that. So it happens. It absolutely happens. There's fantastic group submitters out there. I do it on a very small scale. I don't really necessarily enjoy it. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of communication. It's a lot of unnecessary communication because people might not take the time to give you enough information to submit the cards to go along with Pav's insurance statement. The only way I do it is if the human who sent me the cards tells me what their card's worth, because I'm not guessing with somebody else's property. So if you want to tell me what that card's worth to you, cool, because just like he said, I insure the cards from my place of business to the grading company's place of business and the return. The grading company that I work with, they insure your cards while they're on their property, and then the mail from you to me is on you. And it's a pretty straightforward process. But they ask, why are you more expensive than the actual company's rate? Well, A, you got to have a membership. B, I got to pay for insurance. C, I card save. I prep them for submission. Most people don't have card savers sitting around. I do all the paperwork. I do all the communication. I get you guys all in a group chat as best possible, depending on what platforms you're available on. There's a lot that goes into it, and it's a thankless job. And thankfully, there's a lot of people that'll do it. Because like I said, I started doing it to service the hobby, not to support my business. It's literally a hobby service because I care about the hobby at the end of the day. I get beat down with the business. And if I'm having a bad business day, hey, I can still enjoy my cards, so I can still help people get what they want.
It is a ton
lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And my local hobby shop, my very first sub I ever did, I think I sent 5 cards with him to BGS. And he quit doing it because he mishandled a very valuable card. He dropped it, and he had to pay. He was upfront and honest, and he paid the person but he's like, I just lost money that I won't make up this whole year. So he's like, I'm done doing this. So It is definitely a thankless job. That's for sure.
The closest shop to me is a pretty notable one in that they actually are like the authority in sealing old wax, the baseball card exchange over in Cherville. Stu Hart, I believe, is the guy's name. Shout out to Stu Hart. He'll never see this, but shout out to Stu. And I remember going in there when I was getting back into the hobby, and that was one of the things I asked whoever was working there that day. It wasn't him. I don't know if I've ever seen the man, to be honest with you. But I remember asking, I said, do you guys grade cards? And they told me no, and I didn't understand why. And then once I was around the hobby for a little bit longer, I clearly understood why. It's for a business like that's doing fine on their own, running a LCS and taking care of people, and then they have the prestige, I guess if you want to call it, of sealing the old wax and things like that. There's no need for them to take that risk, because it's not lucrative. I think some people think that it's a lucrative endeavor, and it's not. It's absolutely more service oriented than profit based, because you're just trying to help people do something that they might not know how to do themselves.
I think you definitely saw with the profit part of it, someone that tried to make it a profit thing, it blew up in their face.
Yeah, and that was
exactly what happened there with that whole group submission problem. So it's there's definitely not, even when you charge a little bit, it's not enough money to make up for all the work that you're doing. So yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
The first sub I did with CSG, I made a mistake. So a customer, I didn't understand. I never sent a bulk order. So I had all these different service levels. Customers sent me all their cards. I had, like I said, over 100 between everyone. Great, fantastic first sub. People trust me enough. Let's do it. Let's start typing them in, entering the subs. CSG does their submission all online, so there's no paperwork aside from your shipping sheet to package. But with subgrades and without subgrades are 2 separate orders, even if it's in the same service level, like the same speed. So if you go like for PSA is Express, if you went with the Express without subs for CSG, that's one order, and the Express with subs is a separate order. And that actually is they consider each one a different return shipment because the subgrades add time to the grading process. So I had I think it was an economy level submission. I had like 15 cards for economy with subgrades. I had 1 economy card with no subgrades. I did it as a separate order. I literally had to pay a ton more than just the $10 extra for the subgrades because it was an entirely separate return shipment. It was a extra $5 handling fee because each different order is a different handling fee. So to do what the customer asked me to do and give him less actually cost me a crap load more money than it cost me like $35 extra essentially because you have to insure the package back, and it was a 1 card shipment. Like damn, if I would have just threw the subgrades on, not even charged them for it, it would have saved me money. But that's the things you learn as you go about doing this. But not people don't realize it, and when you go look at the websites, not everybody understands what they're looking at either. And I thought I did until I went to go through the process, and the first sub I did, I learned the hard way. Like, hey, I just ate $40, you know, and the people were cool. They're like, dude, if we need to pay you extra to do it, I'm like, no, that's not the point. You know, I'm like, I tried to set this up where it's bulletproof. We don't need to talk a ton. You just send them to me. I log them. I send them out. And things go smoothly. And that's something I'll adjust moving forward. But then, Brett, you were sending cards to Pav. I was doing the same thing. And then PSA got overloaded and slowed down. And then after a while, you branched out and took the opportunity to start sending a lot of cards yourself. So, tell people, because you have your own YouTube channel, you have a pretty good following. You do a lot of card openings, but unlike most people, you're not trying to sell people spots. You're simply opening for your enjoyment of the hobby, and then the potential lucrative options there are in card grading. So I'll just give you the floor.
I appreciate it. I know. At first I've been just kind of, when I first started, people are like, all of a sudden, like, how can you buy this many cards and getting breaks? It didn't start like that. This started 5-6 years ago with buying a few blaster boxes, open up a couple, selling some inserts, holding stuff, and then just slowly building, you know, turning a buck into two into five, and just, it didn't happen overnight. And then when you guys know, when prices on these rookies started going up, you know, and especially around 18 when Ohtani and that crew and Soto, prices went nuts with Acuna Jr. That's when I'm like, I'm going to kind of get in and see how this grading thing does, and went with Pav. That was the first step. I think I did two submissions with you, Pav, and they were pretty good submissions, and turned those into some money where I could keep investing and buying. I mean, it's fun. The hobby's fun. So I didn't really do it to make money per se, but I wanted to keep buying into products, and I love opening. That's why I kind of started my channel. I was home from school. I'm a teacher. I was bored out of my mind. Me and the dog hanging out, and
shout out to Tracker.
And so I just started videotaping my openings, and then once things kind of changed when I was able to go live. You kind of know what it's like, Brad, to communicate with people, and you kind of disclose some things. I don't know how you feel about this, you know, where you want people to know about you, but you don't necessarily want them all in your business. So you're kind of opening yourself up to the public, and they get to know your hobbies and what you like outside of cards. And it's been fun. But then as the pandemic started to boom, I'm like, one of my friends convinced me, he's like, you got to just start submitting cards every month. He goes, you can turn this into some good hard cash and keep doing things on a bigger scale. So I sat down during I don't know, that would have been April of when that pandemic was happening. I'm like, I kind of put together a strategy. I'll gamble sometimes, but I'm not a big gambler where I did not think, I don't know about you guys, I did not think I could sell more than 150 to 160 cards a month without working hard, right? eBay drives me insane. I'm not a fan of selling there, and it can be just grinding to do. But if I would have known that I could get 160 cards in and sell them the next day locally, I would have sent in 1,000 cards, right? But so I started sending in 160 every month in June of 2020. So the first week of every month, I just started sending 160 cards I got the card saver box. For people who haven't seen it, you know, the card saver box, the 150 to 160, depending on chrome or paper, fit in here perfectly. And then you can ship those really easy. So that's one of the reasons I picked that number. And I've had orders coming back consistently every month, you know, June, July, August, September, October, all the way through. So I'm getting close to 1,000 cards that I've submitted since last summer, which is crazy. You know, they've been coming back. It's been, I know, Brad, you saw this where I had my numbers, and those first couple orders around the 220 to 225 days. And my last couple orders and these are all ultra modern cards. They have been right at a year, 364 days, 367 days. Like, they've been right on a year from the time PSA got them to the time I've gotten them back. It's kind of that's kind of in general how I've gotten to where I've gotten.
Just be mindful.
In terms of grading.
everybody at home that that's not business days. That's just actual time. I think most humans operate in time. Businesses always like to say business days because it really gives them more time than what they're actually telling you, because they're only there when their doors are open. So just a side note. I'm not trying to step on your toes or anything.
I think, Brad, this is one of the best things I've heard from you too. Before we go any farther, man, for the guys who are opening cards, getting in breaks, grading cards, sending them, don't spend money you don't have, man. I've never spent money that I don't have and can't pay my credit card bill that month ever. So the nice thing with PSA is you don't have to, when you have your own account, you don't have to pay it up front, which has been kind of a nice bonus where, you send 160 cards at $15 a piece. You don't have to upfront that money until they pop, which helps things, but you're still gambling that you have to be able to. I'm sorry, man. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a teacher. I don't have the bankroll to sit on 160 cards, a $2,500 submission just to let it sit there, right? I got to move some cards to pay for the submission at least.
Most people don't, and that's why we're starting this podcast, man. This is a podcast for people, not for the rich people sitting at the top looking down on everybody with their $1 million PSA 10 Michael Jordan cards that they're showing off all over the internet. This is a platform for people to actually help ordinary people, and you're a big reason I wanted you on, because I know you're a school teacher. Public school teacher, yes? So, it's not like, I don't know your salary. I'm not asking you what you make in a year, but I am stating for the people at home, this man is a teacher, and he has figured out a way within the space of the hobby to do what he loves, share what he loves with the world, and turn a profit doing what he loves, all while being a school teacher. It's not like you have to have some big, gigantic business enterprise. And exactly what you said earlier, for my business and what I do, I still tell people not to overextend themselves, because it's just a bad place you don't want to be in. You cannot enjoy the hobby if you buy into a break and need to hit a valuable card in order to have lunch for the week at work, or make sure you got gas in your truck so you can go to your job. That's not what the hobby's about, and I don't like it. I don't think enough awareness gets brought to that light, because nobody wants to ever turn down business. I literally told somebody last week I wouldn't accept their money for the rest of the year. I mean, it happens. And it was a guy, he got a little hard up. He asked me if I wanted to buy a card, and I like to buy from my customers, because that's a way that I can, in a roundabout way, support the people that support me if they have something that makes sense for me to buy. And that turns into like investment purchases, which is not PC purchases, which we touched on last episode. I am two entirely different people when it comes to that. So I don't ever want anybody to get offended when they want to sell me something and I don't want to buy it. I mean, it has to make sense business-wise, or it has to be very cool where I'm going to PC it. But the guy asked me, he goes, dude, my bank account's negative. And he had been buying into breaks. And he's like, I got to sell a card. I said, dude, what are you doing? He goes, well, I don't get paid for 10, 11 days or whatever it was. I said, okay. He shows me the card. And instantly I thought of a few people that might actually want the card, because it was a desirable card. I don't want to put the person on blast. I don't want to talk about the card. It was a first Bowman baseball card of a highly drafted baseball player, and a good numbered under 100 parallel. It was a very nice card. And I said, I got a few people I get you in touch with. And he ended up selling the card. And he said he was negative over 100 overdrawn in his bank account. Okay, I get it. It happens. But as soon as this guy sells his card, he buys into another break. Like, dude, what are you doing? I literally called him out during the stream. You may or may not like that, but I'm sorry. I'm the realest fucking dude that's doing the break game, and I stick to that. Whether or not folks understand it, I have a conscience. I care about these people, and I might not have ever met him. Brett, I met through cards. We've set up at shows together. We've had a good time. But this gentleman buys a spot in the break. I said, dude, what are you doing? Weren't you just negative? He goes, yeah. So what? So stop. I said, I am no longer accepting your money for the rest of the year. Like, period. And what sucks about that is he might never come back. You know, somebody else might let him run a tab, but at the end of the day, I can sleep at night. You know, because I consider most customers friends. I mean, it's the hobby. It's supposed to be fun. I try and help people. I try and show you a way you can make a buck. Like when Topps Chrome got crazy in 2020 because Luis Robert and Kyle Lewis and Bo Bichette and Jordan, and you had a pretty good crop of talent. Not as good as 19 or even 18, but still very good, and the full-on wax boom. I literally ripped a case of cards of Topps Chrome. I think it might have been a hobby box, which is a 12-box case rather than a 8-box jumbo case. 24 autographs instead of 40. Probably more cards. I don't have the numbers in front of me. It might be more cards total. So anyway, I gave an entire breakdown on stream on the screen at the time of what PSA's prices were. And I said, listen, if this was a random team break and you got the White Sox, or if it was just a pick your team break and you bought the White Sox, and the White Sox were expensive. I want to say they were $300, $400, maybe even $500. Like if you bought the White Sox and you got I think it was like 6 to 8 rookies per case. If you got 6 to 8 Roberts, so we'll say 7. If you got 7 Roberts, you sent them out and you got 5 10s and 2 9s or whatever. Those 5 10s will cover the spot, your grading costs, and then some. It just takes a little bit of patience. And that was based on the information at the time, the sales data we had then. You know, we did it all live. You could probably find it in a video somewhere. But the point was, I've always tried to explain to people since the hobby has sort of taken off that ink isn't everything. And now that we're catching up to that sort of thought process, now maybe base cards aren't everything. I think that's the next thing. I think bases, everyone talks about the sky's falling, junk era, 2.0, blah, blah, blah. Well, if that's true, we have serial numbered cards and parallels now. We didn't have that in the last go-around with the overproduction. So maybe some base stuff takes a hit, or, which is a lot more likely, maybe base cards just go back to where they belong. And
Yeah.
that's $25 to $50 for a base rookie 10 card of most people. We're not talking about Trout or Soto or Tatis or Acuna or Vladdy, these new guys that have taken the game over, and some of the established ones, but the B tier dudes like Gleiber and Eloy and Bo Bichette and Jordan, guys that are really good at a few things but maybe aren't 5-tool players. And this is all baseball talk because we mostly do baseball, but this applies to basketball and football as well. Football's always been quarterback driven. The quarterbacks aren't so good this year, so everybody thinks football cards suck right now. I'm like, no, you guys just got too crazy for your own good. Everything went to the moon. What do we figure that to be like between March and February of this past year was like the ultimate singles peak across the board. We showed it last time. We could show you some more stuff later if we get back to it. But we've pretty much proven without a shadow of a doubt all singles cards peaked. And now they're just slowly settling back in. But there's still tons of opportunities in the space to do something you like with a minimum of investment, you know. But I tell people, send 10 cards. Brett's taking it to a whole nother level. I've always said send 10 cards every month. Because it's not, I don't think that's unreasonable for a lot of people to pay that type of money. Just send 10 every month. When you get them back, sell them. Sell them all. Don't get attached to them. Don't send anything you're attached to. Send 10 cards in, get them graded. The grades are what they are. It's subjective. We already know this. I don't like it, but it is what it is. Send them out.
How many are you sending right now, Brett?
Well, up until they closed, I was sending $160 a month, and then a few express orders on some of the bigger cards that I had. But I've been going PSA pretty much only just for my personal reasons. Yeah. I actually love the way the HJ slabs look. I've seen them in person; they've gotten better, but I haven't personally subbed there. But I did once. I have a bunch of cards right now that I'm just being stubborn. The $100 price range is coming back. You know, I'm just waiting. I have no rush. I have a bunch of Herberts I want to get graded that I'd prefer to get down into the $30 to $50 range to get them graded, but I don't need to do it, you know. And if I need to go a different way, I will. But it's crazy how within a short time the hobby has kind of come back to, like you guys said. And
Let me ask you this before we get off topic, because Pav and I have talked about this. When PSA, and I'm going to say when, not if, when they go back to a bulk submission, what do you think the price point will be? What would you like it to be, and what do you actually think it's going to be?
I would like it to be in the $15 to $20 range. I've heard them talk where they want it lower.
No way.
But in that survey that they sent out, man, Pav, did you do the survey for the membership? Did you look at it? About a month ago, they sent out a survey, maybe 3 weeks ago.
No, I didn't even look at it.
So I pulled out the survey, and the $30 price range was almost in every question. I was stubborn. I was answering, I will not sub cards unless it's lower. But I think they were like trying to see where I think $30 is kind of where I think they're headed. But I don't think we're going to be $30 until next year. Not early 2022. I'm talking like the end of 2022 when they get all caught up, which they are. Hey, as much as people talk crap about PSA and they're so frustrated it's a year to get back cards, it could be 2 years. They've doubled their production and the number of cards they're grading a week. So it could be 2 years we could have waited for these cards. I give them a lot of credit for that because it could be a lot worse.
I doubt they bring back bulk. I think they'll bring back the value and the economy, and they'll run it at the $30 and $50 price range. But like, if they do bring back bulk, I could imagine them putting a 2-year term on it.
Yeah,
and saying here, if you guys are going to send bulk, it's going to be 2 years before you get these cards back. They're going to go to our rookie graders. There's going to be because at some point, right, with the grading companies, it's all about consistency more so than whether this is a 10 or a 9. It's more important that this 10 looks like this 10 and this 9 looks like this 9. So you need that consistency. And I think it's going to be really tough to get that kind of consistency with the new graders. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do bring back. I really don't expect a bulk to come back. I think that's going to affect the base card market hugely. I think you're going to have a lot less graded base cards. Even I'm not totally against grading base. I'm not there yet, but I'm against. I'll tell you, we used to send everyone, right? That was our thing, is like, okay, I got 30 Acuna rookies. I'm going to send 30 Acuna rookies. Now I got 30 Acuna rookies. I'm going to send these 10 that I'm pretty certain are 10s. Whereas before, we saw with the $8 grading, it was obvious.
You were sending everything.
Everything.
Had to do it. So I think they can actually help stabilize the card price, the entire market, by keeping the grading prices higher.
Yes, that's why I don't see bulk coming back for PSA. If they want to remain the king of the castle, which I don't see them not being the king of the castle, even with some of their issues, because everybody wants to talk trash about every company. It's inevitable. Everybody gets brand loyal, and I think that's the most disgusting thing there is. I don't know why. Every different thing serves a different purpose, and you should use all the available tools in the hobby to make the best decisions for yourself. But if they bring a bulk back, I think that $50 is the ticket if they want to say, hey, we're the best, but we don't want any bullshit. So send us your nice stuff. Almost any serial numbered card, you'd pay $50 to grade it, especially with the top tier company, and especially if you feel very good about its condition. But if it ever did get to the 30 and below, I don't know. I still think they would just get overflowed again, just flooded, because I think people would still send base cards in at $30 a pop, especially if they pulled them themselves. If it's a $50 card when it comes back, I don't think anything would stop them at the $30 price point. And then I don't know how how big their operation is. Obviously, they're gigantic in as far as our space goes, but I could see them getting too low. I think they need to start high and gradually lower if they're not getting the volume they anticipate. But I don't think they're going to have an issue getting the volume. I think it's going to be, hey, we're open and mailbox is loaded up again. And they're like, oh, we're closed.
I'm interested to see how this is going to work. So recently they opened up the $100 regular for these group subbers, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then we got that email where they're going to start taking regular to the regular accounts. Pav, you have account. Brad, do you have a PSA account, or do you go through Pav with everything?
Nope, I just use Pav. And then if I have anything crazy, I just use Pav.
So I have my account. I have a feeling that they're going to go to like what HGA does with that lottery system, and you can only sub, for our accounts, not group subbers. The group subbers, I think, are getting 300 per week. I think I heard one of the guys saying. I think it was 300 per week. And I have a feeling that they're going to open up some type of lottery system where it's only for a handful of cards for the rest of the accounts. And I wouldn't have a problem with that. I only have for $100 to grade a card, you got to have a pretty good card, and you better hope it's a 10 worthy card.
I have tons. I shouldn't say tons. I have handfuls of raw, as they sit, $1,000+ cards. And take this however you want. Like I said, I'm an authorized dealer for a grading company. I don't think that I should have to spend that much to get somebody's fucking opinion. I mean,
No.
It's the demand and supply and demand. I get it, but I do not like grading. I don't. I understand the need for it, and I know what it does to the bottom line. But I'm not a businessman. I'm a hobby guy first. So for me to pay money to someone else, for them to give me their opinion of my card, I don't like, especially when I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're having a good day or a bad day. I don't know how many cheeseburgers they ate, because they're going to put thumbprints all over the bottom left corner of every card Pav gets back. There's just so many things that are just, there's no concrete set of terms that this is what your card grades at and this is why. Every company gives you a grading scale, and you can follow their grading scale along at home, send it in, get your stuff back, and it's not what you anticipated. Whether you were right or wrong, it doesn't matter, and there's no accountability for if something's wrong. So I just, after a certain point, like, man, I don't even know if I want to grade my card. Rather just sit on it raw. Like, I have a gold wave Tatis Topps Chrome rookie card. I paid a ton of money for it, knowing that it's probably a 9 because there's a print line in it. And if it gets a 9, so what? But I don't even want to send it in at the price point for the gamble. I'm like, I don't know. If the right guy gets it, it's a 10. If the wrong guy gets it, it's a 9. If the honest guy gets it, it's probably a 9. I don't know. I don't know how, do they all value print lines the same way, especially in those wave type cards? Because the technology's evolved and the grading scales don't tell you anything about print lines. That's probably the biggest question about Surface that I get from anybody is, I got a print line. What does it mean? Well, I don't know. Some print lines don't look like anything. Some look like bad scratches. Some are from the design of the parallel. Yeah, the print. I think grading companies should take a moment to maybe update their scales to include at least some information on that. Hey, we think this about that, and that's where we're at with it. If it has this, it's good. If not, it's not.
I hear you there. Grading, I'm in the same boat as you. I think there's a lot of BS with grading from all companies. But I jumped on board where it just kept the wheels turning for me. You get in like you said, you get in a break and you buy the Blue Jays in a break in 2019, and you hit a few Vlads, and you get them graded, and not only did you get your money back, you hit some awesome stuff. You're making money, and you keep the wheels turning. It's just if you got to have the money in the waiting game, and the one thing you said there that kind of catches my eye, getting to the grading part of this, is after looking at hundreds and hundreds and thousands of cards in a row, the one thing about sending in base rookies that makes it way easier. Like, let's just say the Eloy Jimenez 2019 Series 2 base paper rookie. At one point, I had 200 of those things in front of me. And you start looking through those and you start seeing the flaws that are in the same areas. And it's easier for you. The more you have, the easier it is to see those flaws. And the same thing with that Vladdy no number short print from Series 2. The one corner,
the top left corner.
Yeah, it was all of them. You know what I mean?
Every one of them. Yep.
So when you're looking at many of those, it gets way easier to pick them out. And then so just some of the strategies when I was grading, you got to have good lighting. You have to have some LED lights, which I do. I got it right in front of me, but I got this thing for super cheap.
Yep, there you go.
Super cheap. LED light on it. You can see cards, and I started looking at cards during the daytime on my kitchen table where I have good lighting, and then I would look through them once and pull out the ones that were for sure these are not going to go because they're not going to get 10s. And then I'd go back at night because the night, it does make a difference on what time of day you're looking at them, even with good lighting. Because I'm not in an office. I was in my kitchen with there's light coming in. It does make a difference. So then I would turn all the lights off and just have my LED, because PSA and SGC, like SGC has shown some behind the doors footage, and they're in an office and it's dark and they have lights on, good lighting. So when I started looking at night, that's when you start finding to me, the flaws on the cards, where you miss them in the daylight, but when you go back through them a second time, you can start seeing a small little dimple here, a minor corner ding here that you just didn't pick up during the day, So looking at those base cards made it a lot easier. I sent in on one order, 64 Tatis base cards from Series 2. And I think 48 of those got PSA 10s and the rest came back 9s. And that was at the peak too. I got them back like when those things were over $300, and you're like, but when you're looking at them over and over, you start seeing the glove when the glove's all the way at the edge, you're like, okay, that one's off center. And if there's just a little sliver, that you start picking up on that. That's why it makes it easier when you're doing the same card. One other strategy I had with PSA is I had a few borderlines in every order. You're like, do I want to send this? But for $12, this ain't so bad. I'm going to send it. It's a Tatis, right? You put that one on front. So I started putting my bad copies on the front, and then as it went going, it started getting better, and it seemed to work. Some orders, a couple other orders, you're like, whatever. But there's definitely some cards that grade easier than others. I also bought this little tool for some borderlines. Forgot where I got it, but it actually works pretty good to look at the corners. And I don't have it in front of me either, but it's in my kitchen. I bought a digital microscope for super cheap off of Amazon. And that thing is amazing, but you just can't look at it. I mean, if you're doing every card like that, it's hours and hours of, it's those borderlines ones. You're like, all right, how bad is this corner? Is it? And when you put it under there, you really see like, oh man, this corner's pretty bad. So
you're literally proving why I don't like card grading, because to actually give the card the time it deserves, I don't know how any company keeps up with any amount of demand. You could literally spend 30 minutes trying to make a decision on a card that you would send in yourself just before you even decide you want to send it in, because you're like, oh, I don't know. Depends on who that goes in front of.
So what do you guys think about this? I had this discussion with my friend. Whatever card grading company, PSA, SGC,
sure,
whoever it may be, all right? And I'm talking ultra modern, newer, not huge cards. I'm talking just, base paper, Soto, whatever it is. How long do you think they actually look at the card? I kind of said, okay, they spend 10 seconds looking at a card. Okay, 9. Look at a card, and they're moving on. I just don't see them spending minute after minute looking at these cards. I just don't. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think someone did a calculation, like based on how many cards they're actually supposedly grading, or by their numbers, and like the number of graders that they actually have on staff. And I think it's somewhere around like the average is like 2 minutes per card or something. So it's not very long. And you got to figure that with big money cards, they're spending a little bit longer. So this is an average across all the cards. I would imagine most of the ultra modern stuff, they are just kind of looking at it pretty quickly. So I would say they're probably using really good light, right? So if it's got obvious dimples or anything in, especially like a paper card, they don't want to slab something like that a 10. But obviously they do miss some. We lost Brett.
Just keep going.
That we do, they do miss some cards that have. You've seen plenty of cards that are graded 10 that by your eye it should be a 9 or an 8. So I obviously they miss some stuff, and I would say that they are probably rushing through most of the ultra modern stuff pretty damn quick.
Yeah. I don't think they're spending any serious amounts of time. I'm a big bad naysayer though. So we got Brett back. Are you good, buddy? Everything
it just dropped off the phone. Sorry,
it's all good, man.
Good.
So Pav answered you up, and I just started talking. But I'm the worst guy to talk to, and this is why we wanted to bring you on, because I'm just generally untrusting of the entire process. So I don't have too many positive light things to add. So I don't think I don't think they spend any type of quality time on your card. I don't know. I don't know if these graders that work for the companies have quotas. I would assume in an industry such as that, I would assume they have to grade X number of cards a day to keep their job. So when it comes down to putting food on the table for your family, or taking that extra 3 seconds to really look over Timmy's card, that's when you get into the humanity aspect of things. And I don't know. I don't think they spend a lot of time, though, especially on the newer stuff.
I don't think so either. Kind of getting part of that, too, of the assurance that they're handling your cards well. I've had cards that I feel like there's been a few, you can't really dwell on it, that they've actually damaged. I'm like there's no way that corner on that card was sent. I looked at every card twice, and there was been a few very, not just a little. I'm talking like
something you wouldn't miss.
I had a Robert card, for a Bowman paper Robert card that I sent, which I would never send now, right? But at the time, you're like, I'm going to send this first Robert Bowman paper from 2018 in, but that thing was bad. I'm like, they dropped that card. I'm like, there's no way I sent that card in, because I sent like 20 of those in.
I think most companies, I think all of them, I can only speak for the one that I deal with. And if you don't, like, obviously, Brett, you know that the companies all prefer card savers. You already showed us earlier. And that's literally to make it easier for them to get your cards out to look at, because top loaders are a little more challenging. Yep. I don't have a demo handy, but the top loader, you either have to, I've seen people take the top loader with the card and smack it on the table till it gets flush and try and pick it out. I do the pick and pop. That's what I call it. I mean, we're not talking about basketball, but I grab it and I squeeze it. You guys can hear that on the mic. I pop the top loader, and then you can pull your card out. With the thicker cards, you can't really get the sleeve out. You got to actually take the card and then the sleeve afterwards. With the regular 35-point cards, you can pull everything out. But if you don't know how to do it, or if you're in a hurry, it's not going to be done with the same care. These are not people who own your cards. These are people who are judging your cards, and they probably have a quota, and they have a lot of other things to do, and maybe their significant others are fighting with them, and you never know. But you have to keep in mind, friends, that nobody's ever going to take the same care of a card that you would when it's your own stuff. So if you're sending them in top loaders, PSA finally said, fine, we don't care. However you can get us the cards, send them in, because not everybody has the card savers. But top loader is a little more risky pulling cards out, and just like you said, I'm convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that a company, and I'm not going to name names, has damaged my cards before. I can't prove it, but they all also say that we're not responsible for any damages to your cards when we get them out of whatever the hell you sent it to us in. I mean, they cover their own back too, because I'm sure they put that in there because somewhere down the road somebody had one on their table and dropped their fucking coffee on it. You know, like, I don't think that disclaimer is in there, because I don't think it's too unreasonable to say even in a top loader you should be able to safely get a card out. I don't think there's any excuse for damaging a card, taking it out of a top loader or a card saver, but they got to protect themselves somehow. So that's probably how they do it for generalized damage across the board. And I think a lot of people have experienced it, but just like you said, I don't think that's like, I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I think that's okay. I don't think that it's a deal breaker. Nobody stopped grading cards because Joe got 2 cards damaged in his last card sub. No, you eat it, you sell it, you keep it, or you move on. I got a Juan Soto PSA 4. I'll keep it because it's a 4. Who else has one?
Actually, it's fun. Exactly.
And at the time I got it back, it was still worth more than a raw. There was actually another one to comp it with. It was hilarious. I'm like, all right, cool.
I don't crack those out anymore. It's funny you say that, because people are actually trying to put the rainbow together of the 3,
1
the
through
4, the
yeah.
5. You know what I mean? They're
That's
actually
crazy
worth
too.
More than an 8, which is hilarious.
Intentionally ripping a corner off, trying to, if I bend this one here, I'll get a 2. Sending in a card they think's gonna get a 2. That'd be something.
It's funny. Something that you said is like, you know, these are humans that are grading these cards. And what if you're having a terrible day and you're sitting, I don't know if you guys, like, Pav, I'm sure you've done this where you sit down and look at cards for a couple hours and you're like, it gets monotonous and boring. And imagine if you've had a bad day or your girlfriend breaks up with you and you're like, this guy gets an 8. This guy gets an 8. 7 for this guy. Screw this Luis Robert card. And then you get a guy who goes out to lunch, maybe gets a massage and a happy ending. And next thing you know, it's like 10, 10, 10, 10. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's real.
People.
Yeah, like working in a trade. So in my line of work before I got into this, being a tube welder was a really big thing, because the certifications are different. And I came into the trades with the ability to weld plate and MIG welding. Most people won't understand what I'm saying, but tube welding is a different process. And I go to take my first tube test in the Boilermakers, and literally after I put my root in on my tube and had it inspected, and everything was good, and that's the hardest part of welding a tube, just to be honest with you guys. For nobody that knows, putting the root in is hard. It's incredibly hard. That's what makes or breaks your weld. You can fix anything after that. Anything you do coming out to finish welding it, you can fix it. But in those tests, you don't get power tools. You get files. You're not allowed to go inside the tube to fix anything, because when it's in a fixed position out in the job, you can't get inside the tube. That's what makes it incredibly difficult. So I'm having a good day. I put this root in. It's fantastic. It was one of the best ones I've ever done. I said, fuck, this is easy. I got this locked up. Literally, as I'm waiting for all the companies, there's like 15 companies that go in and inspect. They all issue their own certifications. As I'm waiting, I get a phone call from my sister. Tells me my biological father died. And I don't know if this had any effect on anything, but that was something I definitely wasn't planning on worrying about or even thinking about. Hadn't even crossed my mind. Hadn't talked to the guy in forever. I go in there, I strike up my first arc and blow a hole right in the root of my tube, and my weld test is over. I failed. And I don't know if that's why, but that's just, we're all humans. That's shit that didn't even affect me. I get one random phone call. I already done the hardest part of the job that I was doing, and I go in there and ruin it all because maybe I got a little extra on my mind. So it's absolutely understandable if mistakes happen to your cards when they're at these grading companies. People are human. Shit happens. It's how you fix it is what matters. Because all these fanboys, man, I don't like seeing that in the space. A new company shows up or a new anything, and once they get their group of people, they're just so diehard about it. Like, they're perfect and everyone else is not. It's like, no, that's just not how it is. Everybody in the space does something cool. FCG's doing cool shit, whether you like them or not. HGA, they're the kings of the label. I mean,
Those
without a
labels are
doubt.
amazing.
PSA is the most well-rounded company. Beckett, that's where you send the rarest of the ink. They all serve a purpose. CSG is incredibly tough. I think they have or will have the reputation as the most surefire grades moving forward. But all these companies, SGC, they got the tuxedo thing going on. People like that. GMA's, God, who knows? Who knows? All these companies take off and they're still eating shit. So shout out to GMA for eating shit, I guess. I don't know. It's wild. It's wild. I remember you could buy GMA slabs for cheaper than raw cards. Like, I wanted that card anyway, so I just buy that. But all these companies, they all serve a purpose, man. Some are more affordable than the others, like GMA, if you just wanted to get your card in a slab. Some, like if it's not centered the best, PSA might be the place to go. If it's really good ink, like I said, Beckett, Matt Schwartz over there at FCG, Forensic Card Grading, they're grading a ton of Bowman stuff, and it seems to be selling okay. But then once you get on the social media, all these fans of these companies start fighting with each other, and I don't think it does anything good for the hobby space. Like what does it matter? If they're telling you this is what we're grading, this is how we're doing it. Some companies are being more transparent about how they're doing it. How is that an issue? I think that's good. It's competition. So all the companies are going to make mistakes. But it's whoever, as long as every company is willing to fix the mistakes, I don't think you can hold those mistakes against these companies. People are like, oh, I'll never send it here, or I'll never send it there because I saw a card come back with the wrong label. Okay.
Happens at all of them.
Yeah, everybody's done that. You're telling me you haven't went to write something down on a piece of paper and wrote down something else? Like, look in the mirror before you start making these judgments. And most of these people could be just internet trolls too, and that's my biggest issue with social media is there's no emotion. You can't convey emotion through text. Like, if you type in all capitals, people think you're yelling. Well, maybe you just want them to read it. Or if you can use emojis, but it doesn't really translate all the time. But it's nuts, man. People just get on the internet to say crazy stuff, and then it could influence somebody. Is my biggest worry about all of it. Like, you could influence somebody who really doesn't know anything about the hobby. Like, they could see it. Oh, well, I saw somebody say that BGS sucks because they mislabeled a card. I'd never use them. Like, well, you're an idiot if that's what you really believe. Like, no, well, why did you come to this conclusion? Let's think about this. Oh, they just mislabeled a card. Okay, we could fix that. You haven't mislabeled anything? Come on, guys. Let's all be reasonable here. They're all allowed to make mistakes. They have to fix them too. That's part of it. I don't think any company wants to do something wrong, but you can't even imagine how many moving parts there is in an operation like that. I told Pav in 2017 I wanted to start a grading company, and not necessarily a grading company, maybe just an encapsulation company, maybe just a company that would actually seal you a case and not put it in a one touch, because I see they have snap cases now. People are trying to do the same thing that we had talked about. We didn't ever talk about being better than anybody. We just talked about giving people an alternative. That's what these other companies want to do. They want to make alternatives because they have something they think they can offer the hobby. I think it's great. So we'll see.
I really think the most important factor for me for any grading company, like I said before, it's got to be consistency. I expect this 10 to look like this 10, or at least close. It's when you start seeing this 9 looks better than this 10 that you really start to okay, you know, and I think like when you're talking about somebody having a bad day or something, I almost feel like, uh, and Brett probably keeps track of all this, but I almost feel like they're trying to meet a number. Like, okay, you know, we average 60% tens, so let's try to keep it around 60% tens. And I think that's almost more important to them than actually, because every grader is subjective. Every person is going to look at a card differently between people. So, like, I almost feel like for them, the consistency is in that number. Okay. This card, we're going to give 60% tens, this one 60% tens. So I've kind of noticed with the last few, really for the last year and a half or so, all the submissions that I've gotten back have really run right about 60% on the tens. So like I feel like they're almost trying to keep that number there. So it's pretty. There's a lot of factors to it, but that's just what I'm seeing. Like when I look at the numbers across the board, that's where I'm kind of leaning on. I think they're kind of keep a number. Their consistency is in that number. Okay, so like I understand it's hard to control, and like even with the different companies with the claims of the computer grading and that, even they will tell you that the computer grading only goes so far, right? So they can't do everything with the computer. So again, there's always going to be a really subjective part in the grading sense of things. So obviously, like you said, when you're talking to new people coming into the hobby, if you want to buy something as an investment, you should buy it graded. And that's going to be your most stable value. But like if it's something that's just personal collection, you like this card, maybe a one touch is the way to go. So I think, like we talked about, I really don't see the bulk coming back. So it's going to be interesting to see where the grading goes in the long run. And obviously they got new PSA. We can almost call them a new company now, right? It's an entirely different ownership group that is putting in their whole set of new standards. They're doing everything a little bit different than the old ownership group was. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how everybody takes to the new PSA. And I think it's kind of funny how BGS really hasn't been pushed as bad as PSA in terms of like how long it's taking, because they were actually way farther out than PSA on their bulk stuff at a much earlier time in the timeline of the last few years. So like I definitely don't see BGS ever bringing back bulk, and especially like, you know, with most of the stuff that we send, it's higher value autograph cards and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of where they've found their niche. The Mike Trout Superfractor, what was that? That was BGS, right? The Otani Superfractor, it's all BGS. So like when it's those big cards, especially the new ultra modern stuff, you see consistently that people take those cards and go straight to BGS and get it graded. So I kind of think that's where they're going to stick. But PSA has me kind of wondering what their next step is.
Yeah, Ibis is laying low, and I got some of my better stuff locked up in my safe, and I'm just gonna see what happens. And like I said, they are a new company. I don't know what I'm gonna send there, when I'm gonna send, if I'm gonna send, and maybe it's somebody different. And time will tell. But I do have some cards I want to get graded, just in terms of value. You know, we all have them, but
Yep.
it's definitely affecting in my opinion, it's affecting the singles market, not PSA not getting a lot of these cards because, you know, it's things have changed. You're not gonna, you really aren't. Brad hit on that a while ago. You're not gonna send those in. A lot of them.
But I think a lot of it's coming down to because they're catching up. So all of these base cards are now flooding the market, at least in terms of baseball cards, in a time where baseball cards don't generally sell for a lot of money anyway. And now there's people literally just trying to dump them because they had them gone forever. Now they have a bill to pay for them or whatever it is. They got them back, and when they sent them in, they thought they were $200 cards, and they got the grade they wanted, and now they're $80 cards or less, you know. So I think that has something to do with it too. And like I said, I don't know if the base rookie thing will die off. I don't think it will. I think it depends largely on how the grading process will change with the fees, the turnaround time, all of that. I think all of that will impact what gets sent, because when PSA went from $8 to $12, they essentially said it was because we're getting too much junk. So I think if they want to try and do damage control, they will say, hey, we're gonna be at $50 or whatever, and we don't want any junk, and just be honest with people, like, we don't want your shitty paper Bowman card. Sorry, we don't want it. We don't want your second year paper card of a guy with the stupid cup on it. Like, yeah, it's a cool card, but it's not worth what it should be. It's not worth our people's time to sit down and grade that card when there's much more sought after valuable cards to be had. Now, if one of these newer companies wants to bite the bullet and turn into that $10 to $15 card grading company, I think the door's wide open for them. The problem is, I don't think anybody's willing to accept that sort of role, because you're asking them to get lower than what they're at now. And these new companies are succeeding on this $25 to $35 to $45 per card range. I think it's wild. When I first saw some of these new companies pop up and what they were going to charge for cards, I said, no fucking way. He said, there's no way. No way anybody's going to do it. 2 weeks later, I'm sending 20 cards to them. Like, I got to see what's going on with these guys, because they're still around. They're still in business somehow. Well, all right, you win. Here you go. And
yeah, they're kicking. And I'm on the HGA group, and I'm seeing I kind of like to see what people are posting. And, they're $30. I think, is that for the custom label? I believe. I'm not 100%. I don't quote me on that. But I've seen people are getting frustrated with their turnaround times because it's slowed down a little bit, and they're $30. I know one of them's $30, and it's like, people just have to be realistic. People are sending in cards, and it's amazing they're paying that much to get great. $30. Oh, can we just go back to the $8 and send in a few 100,000 cards in, all of us?
No, man. I sent a sub into HGA. And it was literally the week before they started that queue system and their lottery. I think they've done away with the queue, but I think they have a different system in place. And the only reason I even did it, I remember I had a break full, and I had a video to do. And I think the video was at like 6:15, because I think they opened up their subs on Friday at 7, I think. It was either 7 or 9 o'clock at night. And it still might be true. I don't remember. But I remember telling Pav and Juice and a few people I'm in a group chat with, I said, hey, I'm going to send these cards to HGA. I took a screenshot of the form I filled out. I said, this is what I'm sending in. And Juice messaged me right as I'm getting ready to do this video and says, because at the time, HGA's website said how many cards they were taking. I think they only took like 800 a week, something like that. And He says they got 200 spots open. Well, that was before the time, and I got in there and I submitted my order and it took it. Well, I didn't find out till later that they had just increased what they were willing to accept for the week, and they added more spots to the previous week, and that their current 9 o'clock submission was still open. I thought I just got lucky and almost screwed at the same time, and then the next week is when they had they started having massive problems with demand. They started blowing up, and it was at, well, I think it was 35 a card. And mine was a few days late. My turnaround was a few days late. No big deal. But that was my experience. It was before it even got crazy, and it was still already crazy. So who knows? Earlier I did just show just a one touch for anybody who doesn't know what a one touch is. We may have some people. And this is a card that I will never grade because it has some surface issues. It's an Aaron Rodgers Topps Chrome rookie. I'm a Packers fan. I didn't buy the card. I bought the card before the hobby even boomed. I didn't pay very much for that card at all. But I know it's not perfect. I'm not going to grade it, and I'll keep it forever. And someday it'll be worth something to somebody, but I don't have any intentions of selling it. And that's the cool part about the hobby. Like, yeah, somebody somewhere probably wants that card, but I got it at a time where it was inexpensive relatively, and, you know, if I had the foresight, I'd have bought $1 million more. But that's, you know, hindsight's 2020, and foresight is definitely not. So that was just something I wanted to touch on before we get moving. A one touch is just a magnetic case, snap case, and there's nothing wrong with this. You can display these nicely as well. It's the little dot in the center. It's similar to the screw downs of days past, and apparently they have screw downs with recesses in them now anyway, because before they said if you screw them down too tightly, it'll actually make the card change dimensions, and then you can't grade it. It'll become an altered card. Same thing with, we didn't talk about this at all either, but the 2019 Topps Chrome, all those rookies, the first batch that got sent to PSA sent them back as altered. They had to get in touch with Topps. And I remember saying something at the time that I thought Topps did it on purpose. And I don't know if they would ever admit it. And I don't even remember specifically why I said that. But I think, you know, for that to happen, I don't think they didn't know it happened. Because I remember pulling those cards in breaks and going these, and putting them in the penny sleeves. Just putting them in the penny sleeves going, these cards are small. Like, they're smaller. And that's what it was. They were all cut a little bit shorter. But PSA refused them right out of the gate. Said, nope, these are all altered. I couldn't imagine being the first guy to send in the first cards from the hottest baseball rookie product, sending them all in, and then PSA going, you just wasted your money. These are all fake. And the guy's like, no, I opened the box. I did it. I put them in the sleeves. I sent them to you, and now you say they're no good. And then they had to figure it out. But it happens with manufacturing. There's so many moving pieces in the hobby. Everybody just demands perfection. And over the last 18 months for sure, I would say quality has declined big time. And I think that might have something to do with your 60% 10 theory. I would like to think that nobody's intentionally trying to keep a ratio. But it definitely could be possible. I would just like to think that there's no way good human beings would do that. But the flip side is quality has hit the shitter, and it's not good. It's been really bad for a lot of products. Panini has kind of always had edging issues on their thicker cards for as long as I can remember. But when I started breaking in late 17, early 18, I don't remember quality being much of an issue at all for anything throughout 18 and most of 19 up until the summer or so, because those cards were immaculate, man. All the chrome cards, I didn't even fucking know what a print line was. You know, like, you'd get some like chrome boogers, like the cardboard from the cut would get on the back of the next card, but that stuff would wipe off or shake off, and that wasn't a detriment. Now you got all these issues. Off centering is atrocious. And I'm not saying cards should be perfect, but some of it is so egregious. But that's just where we're at now. So I was
just going to say that to go with what you just said is I sent in some Wander first. I sent in some Lewis Robert first chromes, and they literally all came back 10s. Everyone I sent. Some megas of Wander, all 10s. Bowman megas. And then 2020 Bowman megas. No, I did not get. I think I sent like 6.
I didn't get a single 10 from any Dominguez or Witt mega box. I sent a bunch in myself.
None. And it was centering was a lot of it, but you're like,
yep.
It's definitely The newer stuff is tougher for sure.
Yep, I didn't get a single 10, and you specifically said mega boxes. Yeah, I sent all the Dominguez and Wits I could find. Not a single 10.
Yeah, they're hard. They're hard. They're
I
tough.
think I even got a 6 or a 7 on one of the Wits. It was so off center. But there's no borders on those, and if you don't take the time to look at them like we weren't back then, that's what you get.
I remember you ran like a mixer a while ago, and I had some Bellinger. You did like a mixer a couple years ago, and you did like a Topps Chrome that had 17 Topps Chrome, and I forgot what 18 product. And I bought the Dodgers for the Bellingers, and those came back 10s. Every one of that I sent came back 10s. And for everybody who says you need to wear gloves when you open cards, you don't need gloves, guys. You don't need gloves.
Hey, I don't like to say that all the time because I know I stirred a pot when I say it, and I say it with the intention of stirring the pot. For this podcast and this episode, that statement is 100% relevant. You do not need gloves. So if you're opening cards at home or you're watching these hacks with their gloves, the only thing I will say is ask them to sort and ship live. If you're going to wear gloves on
wash
camera.
Your hands. I don't understand what the big deal is. When I would prep cards for grading, I would wash my hands and go through the cards, and if anything, you use a nice microfiber. If you got fingerprints on a card, wipe it off with a microfiber. But if your hands are washed, you're not leaving fingerprints on it again. So I don't get the big deal. The
glove thing drives me nuts. I think it's
whatever.
To me, I'm a guy that would literally work in a field without gloves. And I worked for some contractors that have glove policy. Like if you're on a job site, you have to have gloves on. Well, turning a nut and a bolt. Yeah, go ahead, Brett. I got your message. Brett doesn't know about the chat, the built-in chat, but he's on his phone, I think. But
yeah,
turning a nut and a bolt with gloves on is harder than doing it with your bare hands. So handling cards is the same exact thing. I explain this live during breaks a lot of times. I barely touch the cards. Like I've opened so many through the years. I know where to touch them, how to handle them, how hard I need to hold them. Like there's barely any pressure I put on a card when I hold it. I've been, you know what I mean? I've been doing it so damn long that I can just take any card, look directly into the camera, and put it in a sleeve. And now this card is in a penny sleeve. Like, it's just things.
I want to see those corners.
Ooh, Jack, absolutely wrecked. Smoked. Never coming back. But I did something one time where I told, I was in an argument with somebody over gloves. And I don't even know how I got in the argument. And I didn't want to be in the argument because I have no time for gloves. And the guy was just being ridiculous. You know, you have to wear gloves, this and that. And I said, all right, cool. If that's how you feel, give me a couple minutes. I made a post in Underground. Shout out to Underground Case Breaks. I made a post in Underground. I said, if you've ever graded a card I pulled you, please post it. Had a whole ton of nasty stuff come up. All 10s. You get 10s. You don't need the gloves.
Yeah.
No gloves. Get away from the gloves. If you like gloves, fine, but they're not necessary is what I'm saying. If you know what you're doing, you don't need gloves. When you're at home handling your cards, you don't need gloves. The people who are handling your cards may or may not be wearing gloves. But anything you're putting between your hands and the card, to me, is an unnecessary risk. You're not getting the same feel that you're going to get with the glove. So I don't want, me personally, this is just me, I don't want to take the risk of something slipping out of my hand because I can't feel it. And that's why I don't wear them. I just won't. I won't.
We got Brett back with us now.
Yeah, buddy, he's back.
My battery was dying.
You're still getting submissions back.
Yeah, I have 3 more to go. I should get one in January, February, and March. So somewhere in that area.
You're still selling right now?
I've been selling my last order. I'm just kind of holding. You know, this is the off season, so it's getting to the dead time of baseball. So I'm trying to hold as much as I can.
right?
But
Are you selling anything?
a few here and there. At the show the last show that I went to, that first weekend of December, I sold a ton of stuff. And man, local shows are still pretty good. How's the show down by you? Still good by you guys?
I haven't been in a while. The last one I had something come up. There's actually a show in Lake Station, Indiana, Saturday, I believe.
Yeah,
10
this
to
weekend.
10 to 3. So this will be on YouTube before then. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that. That'll be this Saturday, 10 to 3 in Lake Station at the VFW card show. It's really good. 60 tables. It's usually pretty busy.
Yeah.
I've never lost money setting a table up there. I'll be in Boston this weekend, so
Some pretty surprisingly good stuff there. You see a lot of high value cards you wouldn't expect to see at a card show in Lake Station. So
my biggest problem with the shows is just everybody's setting up like they're fucking Walmart. It's 50% of tables or more at almost every show you could imagine. You go and it's single cards like it should be.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say like it should be. It's however it's going to be. But it's people approaching a table, asking if they're buying.
Yeah.
And then
lots of kids with briefcases.
Yeah, and people set up looking like a frickin' display at any retailer. I mean, they got the hangers, the megas, the multi-packs, because I'm not saying the other word that starts with a C, because this isn't the 80s. And there are multi-packs for you, those of you at home. Don't say the word, I'll freak out. We'll end this damn podcast right now. But they got the megas and the blasters and the hangers and the rack packs, and they got it all. But they ain't got not one damn hobby box. And it's like, come on, dude. All right, good for you. What do you want for your $20 blaster? Oh, I want $80. Okay, well, all right. I'll just go to the internet if that's what I want to do. I it's off-putting to me, but a lot of things put me off. So
a lot of overpriced stuff there. That's what we always kind of found is that we definitely did a lot more selling than buying, and it seemed like we did a lot more selling than most of the other tables, because you would go price stuff, and everybody's got eBay. Everybody's got. I don't know. That's one thing I never understood. Is like, dude, I see the same comps that you see, so I don't know where you're coming up with this number that's 50% over what the comps are, and you got no wiggle room. And it's like, you obviously don't want to sell the card. So why'd you bring it?
Yep.
No, but
I won't put anything out that I won't sell.
It's always kind of crazy. It's always kind of crazy to me, some of the stuff that people are expecting a lot of money for. But so you got a good stack of cards built up right now, Brett.
Yeah, I've got a couple submissions here that have stacked up. This last one that just came in last week of 160 plus the one before, so few hundred slabs plus, I'm PC and stuff, and I've held some stuff back that I didn't want to sell. The one thing that was really interesting, I went to the Chicagoland Sports Spectacular at Rosemont the weekend before Thanksgiving. Man, that show was popping with people. There was not much sealed product there, but there was vintage and modern ultra. I mean, it was loaded with some good stuff, and that show was strong. So locally, man, there's still people buying. You just have to have the right stuff. And like you said, my frustration when I go to shows, the very first time I set up was with Brad because he had that table open, and I was pretty uncomfortable selling because I had never sold cards in person, and it can be difficult to price your stuff. I think I'm too nice. I want people to get what I think my cards are worth or close to it. But I feel I've bought too. You want the best deal you can get. So
right.
Some people, like you said, are unrealistic. And you go to these shows and like, I wanted to buy these Eddie Vedder autographed cards from the Pearl Jam show that came out of the packs. Right. And the vendor had 6 of them. and he had them priced at $600 a piece, and I was going to buy them all. And the guy wouldn't even acknowledge that I was there. I went by 4 different times to try to buy those cards, and he was not doing business with anybody, just kind of like off in his own world. I'm like, I'm not going to go out of my way to buy anything from you then. And I was surprised how many people just, when they come to it, if you're a seller out there, when somebody comes to your table, man, ask them how they're doing. Are you looking for anything particular? How you doing this morning? How you doing this afternoon? To just kind of break that ice. That's one thing I think is a lot of people don't do that. They're just, they're not active in selling. It can be difficult if you've never done it, but the more you do it, the better you get too.
Yeah, I don't understand. People are afraid of rejection or something, and then I feel like a lot of younger kids don't know how to make eye contact. That's the first thing, man. Look somebody right in the eye, ask them how the fuck they're doing. I mean, you don't say, how the fuck are you doing? I would. I don't recommend that for everybody. but I mean, how are you doing? I mean, what's going on, man? How's your day? What have you found anything cool at the show? You don't even have to cut to the chase. We're getting into how to sell, how to be a salesman. And I hate being a salesman too, but you're absolutely right. You got to talk to the people. You can't just sit there. I've been guilty of sitting there. I'll get caught up. Somebody will distract me, something with the business, and it's like, man, I got to sit down and handle this for a minute. And you will. You watch people out of the corner of your eye just walk past because you're not engaging with them. You don't even have to. It doesn't even have to be about the show. If they're wearing a shirt or something you like, you just acknowledge that people want to be acknowledged. People want to interact with you, especially if they took the time out of their day to come to the show. I'll talk to a guy at the show for 30 minutes knowing damn well he's not going to buy a thing from me just because maybe he just wants to talk, man. You start talking about the hobby stuff, whatever. And then if people, even if you know that person's not going to do any business, if he's at your table talking, that's going to bring more people to your table. I mean, that's going to get more people by you. It's simple. Like, something's going on over there, even if it's just a conversation. People are curious by nature. They're nosy. My daughter, she's 5 years old. She's out the blinds all the time she hears a noise. People just want to know. That's instinct. What's going on? Like, close them blinds, girl. Get out of the window. But out at a card show, interact with the people. Don't be afraid. Look at them. If they tell you no, or if you have to tell them no, if that's the worst thing that happens, it's okay. It's okay. How many girls did you ask out and you got shot down? And rejection's part of everything. Nothing is 100% all the time. You got to learn. Just roll with it. It's not the end of the world. Your rejection will be forgotten about in 2 seconds. Go make the next sale. And that's the thing, man. Put prices on your cards. I see that a lot. Some people really memorize what they need to have, and that's just a whole different type of sales approach. If it's on my table, I'll sell it to you. There are some people that put it out and say they bought it for $1,000 and they won't take a penny less than $1,001 because they can't lose money. Sometimes you got to lose money. Same thing with somebody's grading cards. We'll bring it back into the grading realm. Sometimes you get a submission back and it's not what you hoped for, but to do the next one, to get on to the next thing, sometimes you got to take an L, man. You can't be afraid to lose a little. I'm not saying lose all the time because that's terrible advice. Don't lose on everything, but don't be afraid to lose on some things because if it helps you get to the next step, fuck it. 1 step back for 2 steps forward is good. You just don't want to take 2 steps back for every step you take forward. But you gotta be unafraid. You gotta be able to make a decision even if you're not comfortable with it. It's face to fire, see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? Ask yourself that. Oh, I lost $20. Oh, tough. Oh, big deal. I'd fucking lose $20 on a scratch off without even thinking about it, or whatever the case is. $20 on a bad dinner out, who knows what it is, but you could lose money on so much worse than selling a card for less than you wanted, so that now you have that capital back to do something else with it in the space. So don't be a chicken.
Yeah.
Make something happen. Make some eye contact. If you get some bad grades, don't let it deter you from grading again. And that's me, who I've been on here for an hour and a half now telling people how much I don't like card grading. That doesn't mean I don't understand and use it. This is what I'm trying to tell you people. Just because I think of it a certain type of way doesn't mean I'm not doing it. Absolutely grading cards. Still grading cards. I have cards at grading companies right now. You just have to do what's right, what makes sense to you. And you'll find a way to make it work and make some money. Have a good time. Fund the rest of your other hobby-like habits.
Well, I'm about to hit it, but before I do, right, I want to know, who are you holding? Who are you holding? Who's going to go up in value, and when are you selling?
So I went around the national, and every show I've been going to, I've been buying any PSA 10 Nolan Arenado update rookie card that I can find. And he's on a projection that I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And at the National, I got 5 of them there. It's pretty extraordinary how few their pop is pretty low. I don't want to tell you the wrong number, but it's compared to these, like a Tatis rookie. It's nowhere even close to that.
Right, not even on the same planet.
And so I end up 5 and 5 of them at the National. I got, I think, 3 of them for $90 and 2 for $100. And then I found a couple more at another show, and I've been putting those away. And I'm going to hold that because I really do think he's going to be, if you look at his WAR and his Gold Gloves, I think he's on pace to be a Hall of Famer. That's one guy that I'm really buying. I'm huge on Herbert. I think Herbert's going to be a monster. I've been grading some of his cards and putting those away, and just he's another one that I'm high on. And then like another thing I've been doing too is, again, to keep as I've been grading, you guys know I've been selling some to pay for what I buy and just keep recycling it, keep the wheels turning. I've held back some Tatis rookie cards. I've held back some Sotos. I haven't sold all of them. I've sold a lot of them, but I haven't sold all of them. And I've just been putting a few things here away. But I did launch a lot of stuff. You guys might get a kick out of this because you're Cubs fans. I just knew that they were going to trade all these guys. I knew it was coming, and I was pissed off at Ricketts. And I'm like, you know what? Right now, I had a huge Cubs PC of the last 6 years stuff. I mean, so much. I mean, base cards, numbered cards, parallel cards, Addison Russell cards, Javi Baez cards, Chris Bryant cards, you name it. And I'm like, if I really want to get the value, not the base rookies of like Bryant or Baez, but just, parallels of here and there, I'm like, I'm going to sell this stuff now. And this was, I'm like, I had a guy come to my house and he bought a ton of stuff from me. And I launched a lot of stuff to get some capital back. And I'm like, I can always go buy some of this stuff back if I want it. But the prices were so high that I even moved some of that stuff. But I kept one of the gold Tatis PSA 10s. I put one. I've had 5 of those now. I pulled 5 of those, but I bought one too. So I've had 6 of those in my possession of the regular base paper gold. And so I kept one just to put away. But Arenado's the big one, and Herbert are my 2 biggest ones right now that I've been working on.
Awesome. Yep. I appreciate it, man. I like hearing what everybody's kind of thinking, what's going on. But that's it for me, guys. I gotta run. I gotta deal with local government bull crap.
Oh, fun stuff.
Public library meeting.
Yeah.
Don't let them fool you.
I'm on the public library board in my little town, so I gotta go deal with that stuff.
All right, dude. Pav,
good seeing you.
You could see yourself
it was
out.
Great, man. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me.
I love seeing you, man. It's great seeing you again. I've only met you once in person, but every conversation we do have is awesome.
Yeah,
dude, and that's a story you got to tell on here. I expect to see it later about that card show because I saw you for less than like 5 minutes, and you were gone before the show started. So it was really entertaining.
That was that show.
I love telling that story.
That was that show.
I love telling that story. So
that was a wild period, man. Like, it was nuts.
All
All right,
right.
I'll get out of here, and you can tell the audience that story because I love that one. You guys have a good one.
You too, Pat.
All right, Pam. Peace, bud.
Oh man,
That's
that was
funny.
the height. That was the height of the prices, Brad. That
Was that show March or February?
I think
when was that
March.
show?
I think it was the March show.
Yeah,
that was the peak.
I had a terrible show that day because of what you did. I remember
sorry,
that.
Man.
That was I think that was the worst show I've ever had. I really do. So anyway, I think that was when I think that's when we met in person for the first time, or was that the second show you did with us? Okay,
I did two there.
So we met at a show previous to that, and then Pav come out for the next one, and Pav and I set up 2 tables. You had your own 2 tables. For those of you listening at home, I had a deal with the guy who ran the show. He set us up 4 tables that were not along the perimeter or the inner circle of the place. It was literally its own island, and I dubbed this place called Money Island because once we got people coming there, between Pav and I, who priced things fairly, put stuff on our table we wanted to sell, and would still negotiate, because I'm telling you right now, 80 to 90% of comps for an in-person right now deal where you don't have to worry about shipping, losing shit, waiting for your funds to clear, dealing with any of that is, I'm sorry, I'm taking that every day of the week. I absolutely am. Taking it. Not even thinking about it. I'll put the price is what eBay or whoever says it is, and if somebody wants to come up and talk, whatever. So I'm not afraid to sell. We would sell tons of stuff. The third or fourth time we got set up in that spot, I told the promoter who was running the show, Bobby Lucas, shout out to Bobby, I said, damn, dude, I appreciate you setting up Money Island for us over here, because you had Revis Island, and that's the big term for all these lockdown cornerbacks. I think Revis started it, Darrell Revis. What do you have, like 27 kids? I think that's the guy that got a vasectomy and still had kids. Is that? We're getting off topic, but we got set up at Money Island, so then we invite Brett out. He sets up at a show. How'd you do on your first show there at Lake Station? Do you remember?
I sold a ton of stuff, and again, that was my first time ever selling.
Yeah, so I remember because you're like, what do you want to pay for it? Tell them what you want.
I didn't have a lot of cards priced. It's so hard when you have a ton of stuff, and
yes, it is.
Especially, I mean, this is getting off topic too, but like right now, I have a Kyle Tucker Meyer Purple that's a Pop 6. It's a PSA 9. There are no 10s, so you're like, how do you price that card? Because there's been no sales. Is that $100 card, $50 card, $200? So it's like you want to get the most for your card, but you don't want to say some crazy number. But I did well at that show. I was pretty pleased enough to come back, and I had just gotten a fire order from PSA in. I mean, it was unbelievable. That order was killer. And I mean, I had that Erling Haaland Topps Chrome Silver Yellow PSA 9.
Yeah,
which
I remember.
Was a $5,000 card. I had a Soto short print PSA 10, and you name it, had them all. That's when the Soto Chrome was going for $500 a piece. The peak.
Yep, they got to like $450, $500. Yeah,
it was at the peak. So, I mean, I can't believe. I mean, 30 minutes before the show even started, I sold my table, man.
Yep.
It was $20K. I mean, when somebody comes to you and has cash and they're like, I'm going to take it. And then the biggest key to that is I kept that Holland card.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because I wanted 25.
Because you even gave the man your cooler.
My cooler. I sold everything. My dolly. Sold my dolly.
Because when you left, when they wrapped up, I'm not going to say who they are. Just because I don't even know if they'd watch this, or if they see it, they'll know. And I remember there's a black man, very, very nice dude. I think he's hilarious, actually. He's a good dude. And he opens up your cooler, and he's from the Chicago area, and I'm sure just like most of us grew up without money. None of us none of us had any money. I had nothing growing up. So this dude opens up this cooler, pulls out one of your Diet Mountain Dews. I remember specifically there was a Diet Mountain Dew in there, and he starts cracking up. He pulls the ice out, throws it on the floor, and says, "This is poor people ice." And it was the damn freezer from your freezer ice machine ice, and I was fucking dying. I'm almost in tears at the show, and I sold nothing because after you sold your table to this guy, he brought all his friends over, and they basically just started appraising everything they just bought right there. So then it turned into a big like circus over there, and then I was like, by association of you selling Money Island to these people, I was now a part of this non-selling spot, and I was a part of this. Oh no, we just bought. I was like, damn it, Brett, you killed me today.
I feel so bad for that, but man, I couldn't pass that up.
No, I don't blame you. I'd have done the same thing.
You know what's crazy after being a collector, not in a mostly eBay seller, and not being part of that world of selling at shows, right? Because that is a whole entity upon itself.
Yep.
And those guys have a big network of people, and I've started to meet more of those as I set up.
Yep.
And I like doing business with some of those guys and not business with others. And but it is amazing how that guy can take that product, same product that you and I have, right? And the same guys are at the show, but they won't really come and buy from you, even if you're realistic on your prices. And the minute he took over, dude, he's got dudes out of the woodworks coming and buy it all. Like literally, he made his money back by the time probably halfway through the day, which is insane.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You know,
absolutely. And I talk to the more I do shows, and my problem is I'm so busy with Underground and doing everything that's associated with running this business, and I'm one person. I have to do everything. People don't understand what everything means. It's not just going to SteelCityCollectibles.com. And I'm not plugging them. I shouldn't have done that. It's not just going, and I don't even buy from them for the record. I was just trying to speak for the average person. It's not going to your favorite baseball card LCS website and just buying product. There's so much more to it than that. So, to your point earlier, it's so much work to price cards. And that's what I will do. If I'm going to set up at a show, it's not just that day I need. So I know how much I make doing breaks and things like that in my day-to-day operations here at Underground. For me to stop everything I'm doing and then take an entire day to figure out what I'm going to take to a show and then price that stuff and then go to the show, if I don't do a number on a show, it's like I lost 2 days and I didn't get any time away from it. You know what I mean? It's like you did all this work and there's nothing to show for it. So I've been very selective about the shows I set up, and I'm sure the two promoters I have in the region aren't too thrilled with me about it. But I mean, I'm sorry, I got to do what's best for me. And if the show's not booming, or if I don't have the time, I simply don't have the time. Like this weekend, I'm getting on a plane and going to Boston, and I didn't do the last show either. But as I do more and more of these shows, I'm starting to I go and I talk to these people. I'm like, hey, you guys know I'm a breaker. I'm not in the singles market space, and I just pick their brain as much as they let me. And some things they tell me, and some things they try and change the subject on. I'm like, so what do you do with this? Why do you do that? Why do you make this decision? Who do you sell this shit to? What what are you doing? And some of them will tell you, and some of them won't. And I try and do business with everybody just for the sake of learning more about how the hobby works.
Yeah, after I did that $20K deal, at the next show the week after, literally the week after, up in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, one of the guys, he said, man, call me from now on. I will pay you 75% of comps on everything. And I've done some massive, I mean, that order that I got back. So I did that $20K deal at that show. I sold that Erling Haaland and some Lewis Robert PSA 10s for $7K the next week, a few days later, to a local hobby shop that wanted them bad. And then this guy that I met, I had just gotten those Tatises in, and he paid me $17K in a parking lot to pick up all the Tatis cards. And that was at 75% comps.
Right.
And I'm just like, the more you're in it and meet those guys, you start to realize who is in it, who likes the slabs, who likes the box stuff of inserts and flagship, who wants the chrome and junk autos. Like, they have a whole network of friends. It's pretty interesting as I've gotten a little. I'm not anywhere near like that level, but you start to see who the players are in the area. And man, there's 3 or 4 guys in the area that I've seen up at Oak Creek where they go sit down and they buy a table every show. They go buy somebody out every show. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But there's some big players. They know how to turn these cards into some big money, man.
There's some people that won't even deal with those types of people because they hear, like what you said, 75% or 80%, and they're like, no way. And what I would say to those people is, how'd your day go? You know what I mean? Did you sell what you wanted? Did you move on to your next objective? Some people aren't in the space the same way we are, though. They're not trying to make money, or they don't care if they make money, I should say, or they're not trying to turn a profit. Sometimes just being able to do volume like that means more than the actual bottom line. It allows you to do more. What if you didn't put 20 into it out of the gate, and somebody comes up and offers you 20, and say you have 25,000 worth of shit, or 26 or 27,000, and you sell it for 20? Well, you never started with 20, but now you have 20 to play with. What can you turn that 20 into?
Yeah.
People don't look at stuff like that, and that's a big part of why I'm doing things like this. I want people to understand that you can't try and squeeze the last penny out of everything all the time. Some things absolutely you need to, but not everything. And it's especially not the stuff with 10,000 plus in a population report.
No, I saw the peak, and I'm like, I'm gonna be able to buy these Tatises back later on if I really want them. And you can, I sold mine. That was like, those were going for over 300 a piece. The PSA 10 Tatis at that point. I sold every one of the 10s for $250.
The Series 2, right? Not the Chromes?
The Series 2 paper. And you can go buy that for around $120, $125 right now. And
that's still a card you should buy.
I don't need to be the end of the rainbow. And, another thing about that, part of that, is one of the reasons I wanted to move a big bulk is because Bowman was coming up. Bowman was releasing around that time. I wanted to buy into some breaks, which I did. I wanted to buy some retail. I bought some hobby boxes. I bought some Bowman Megas. I put money back into Bowman. I like Bowman. I like Chrome, flagship. I'm a baseball guy. And that allows you to go buy more cards. And that's what I did.
And then you got to open more cards. You got to make more content for your channel. You got to send more cards in for grading. You got to do a lot out of making a deal like that. And it's all the stuff that you particularly like about the hobby. It's everything you enjoy. Yeah. So
it's become something that I didn't think it would become, but it's so fun. Again, the money's nice, but where it is nice is to be able to go and not to be able to buy what you want and when you want, instead of, oh, hey, I used to have a lead at a local Target before the craziness, and he would stock that store on a Monday, and I could go get whatever product it was, Bowman, whatever you name it. I could go that Monday, and I was only buying baseball. I wish I'd have been buying football, but I was only buying baseball, and I could go get Bowman or Update on Monday before release everywhere else. My local hobby shop, that guy would get pissed because I would bring in some stuff and sell it to him. He'd be like, how'd you get this? And it's a Tuesday. I'm like, I found it at a local store. And you know what it's like. First to market is always best.
Sure.
And I would take some of the easy stuff that I wasn't going to PC and put it on Evil Bay and sell it for a premium, right? It's brand new. Nobody has it. You're one of the first listings on eBay. And then that was part of it. And now I don't grind eBay right now. I don't need to. This year has kind of set me up where I've had some play money to be able to do some fun stuff with. And, like I said, I got a few cards here. I got this one graded. I pulled this one a few years ago and I got it graded. And this is one I wasn't going to sell because I think this is a sick card.
Yep.
Bryant Rizzo.
Every Cubs fan should have a Brizzo. Yeah.
Out of 10. I'm like, I'm never going to sell that. it isn't worth much now, and I don't really care. It's just a card that I like,
Yeah.
Few other ones that I have close. Like I used to, again, I didn't have much money, but in high school, I had a little bit, and we'd go to the NASCAR races, and I've always liked NASCAR, and I was a Ricky Rudd fan, so I'd go to the races and get some Ricky Rudd autos.
Yeah.
And like I don't even think about selling these. I just keep them around, and I want, we all like our stuff,
Yeah.
I got some Eddie Vedder cards, got some disc golf cards. So
there you go. Shout out to Windy City Disc Golf. Go ahead.
I need to get back out playing, man. The weather is amazing.
I only played like 3 times this year. I didn't get to play at all. None. I was too busy, or the weather was bad, or whatever. There's always a reason I couldn't. It's ridiculous. Business ownership, you know what I mean? Ugh.
Yeah, dude. When people think it's all fun and games. Oh, you should open a card shop. Oh, you should become a breaker. People have told me, why don't you break your cards? I go, dude, I don't like sorting cards to ship. I don't mind sitting down to sort cards, but you have your sister doing it now. You know what it's like to sort a case of cards. And that's not handling the payments. That's not handling the taxes. That's not all that,
I sorted cards until I literally couldn't anymore, because I'd be sitting right here with trays in front of me sorting, and my messages would be going off, and my emails would be coming in, and my reps would be telling me I got to pay for this or that, and I got customers asking me questions, and I'm not getting anything done. Between all of it, I was getting nothing done. And sorting and shipping, for anyone who doesn't know, and however you want to take this, it's literally the most brain dead shit you could do. I mean, it's monotonous. It's terrible to do it right. I got to the point where I was neglecting it. I wasn't doing it to the best of my abilities because I didn't have the time and I was stretched so thin. Now, that's literally the only help I have, and my shipping is as good or better than anybody's on earth. But I have a dedicated help for that, and it's worth it because it's to the customer. You want to make sure the customer's experience is good, and so I wasn't doing it good anymore. I wasn't doing it efficiently. It was affecting what I could and couldn't do, because if I'm on camera doing a break, I can't be sorting, or if I'm sorting, I can't be on camera doing a break, or I can't be selling to the best of my ability. So yeah, the sorting and shipping thing is, people don't understand. We're getting into a whole nother topic.
Yeah, oh yeah. Just to kind of piggyback on what you just said, the brain dead. Another thing too, like when I got back into the hobby, I had just gone through a divorce that was pretty rough on me mentally, and I actually enjoyed, like, the cards were my stress relief. And when I started buying more, I actually enjoyed sitting down and doing a brain dead activity of sorting cards, because it helped me just
forget about everything.
I forgot about, like, I enjoyed that. And now I'm in a different place in my life where it's like, man, sorting a case of cards doesn't sound fun to me right now. And I used to be able to, like, I could bust out. Like, I opened up a case of Gypsy Queen in 2017. I literally opened up a case and I sorted that thing. It's a skill. You've done it. Not a lot of people have opened up a case of cards.
Gypsy Queen's a fun sort too, dude, because all the variations and stuff.
And you're like,
it's a fun product.
The more you sort, the faster you get. Veering off, but it's a skill. It is a skill. You got to figure out where to put the cards, how you want to put them, and this is
what I told people for Heritage High numbers, like the product right now. I don't know the numbers, but I know enough. It's 24 packs a box. It's 9 cards in a box, and that's 12 boxes in a case. It's 2,600 cards. It's 2,592 cards. If it takes you 2 seconds to sort those cards, that's I'm sorry, I did that wrong. 22 times 2. So if it takes you 2 seconds, you're looking at 86.4 minutes just to sort if it takes you 2 seconds. So that's only an hour and a half, which doesn't seem like much, but that's a lot of cards. If you take 4 seconds, so this is 4 seconds.
You're doubling it,
Card. So 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Now you're at 3 hours just to sort the case. What if the sorting is literally for business purposes? It is a race. It is a race to do it fast as hell and accurate. And there's a balance there. You got to be accurate. People got to get what they pay for. But I'm not complaining. I'm not bitching. It's just something that the average person doesn't think about. Like I said, my shipping's top notch. My sorting's top notch. I still go out there. I help with sorting still. If things aren't selling and we have stuff out there to sort, I'll go out there because I can sort like nobody's business. But that's literally my job for how long to do that. So I call me Speed Racer Boy. Come on, come get some. I sort with the best of them. It's not fun. I don't like doing it. But if I could go like when the Cubs traded everybody this summer, I grabbed like 3 boxes of Cubs stuff that I just have these shoe boxes and I just write Cubs on them. I fill them up with Cubs stuff. No rhyme or reason to them. I opened them up. I've pulled some of the coolest stuff out. And to your point earlier with your divorce, that was like my divorce from the Cubs. You know, a lot of those guys were the reason I even got back into the hobby. And so now they're gone. What do I do? Well, I had to go through them boxes. And I put everything on the back burner. I spent an hour, 2 hours going through them boxes. And for that time period, I wasn't worried about nothing else. It does allow you to block out the distractions. And that's a benefit to the hobby. It's fun. It gets your mind off the shit. You go, oh, damn, I didn't realize I had all these badass cards. Like the Topps Chrome, I think one of the products did an insert set of the 93 Bowmans where they're all in like street clothes. Like Mariano Rivera's got one of those cards. And like I had the Chris Bryant and the Anthony Rizzo versions of those, and I'm like, damn, I didn't even know I had those. Those are badass. But to anyone else, or like to like people that go to shows or on the internet, nobody cares. But to the average person who collects what they like, when you pull those cards out, you're like, wow, I forgot how badass that set was, or whatever. Just you can find something you forgot you had, and it just sparks a memory or an interest, and you're like, oh yeah, this is why I do this. Because being a businessman, some days I'm like, why do I do this? It's terrible, you know.
It's tough.
You can have the worst day on earth, and then you can have a UPS truck blow up. So then your product doesn't come, all your customers' packages got destroyed. And you're like, why am I doing this again? This is terrible.
Yeah, but everybody out there is like, man, I want to be a card breaker. He gets to have so much fun.
Oh. The only fun part is opening the cards. I've said that since about day one, though. But you know better than anybody, and you know from a legitimate point of everything. I personally didn't start as a business. I didn't start this saying, oh, I want to be a ripping shipper. I want to go buy all the retail. No, I did this because I had some friends that like cards too, and I bought my first break was 17 Topps Chrome Jumbo, and I only did 2 boxes. And then after that, I think my first case, I don't think I did a full case until 2018 Gypsy Queen, I think was the first full case I did. And I paid basically full price for it. I didn't get any type of deal. And between, I don't know if you were involved, but I'm sure you were shortly thereafter. We pulled enough people together and basically did a group break in the traditional sense of the word. You know, it was friends getting together doing a case, and I was just the schmuck that was on the camera doing the opening part. And then as it progressed, it was like, hey, you're not spending enough time with your family, stupid. Make some money or put the damn cards down. And then, the demand and everything changed from there.
It's cool to see where Underground has gotten to, because you've put in a lot of hours. And I don't know how I stumbled upon you, but, part of my strategy with cards is, I try to get the price per card down as much as possible. And when you were doing the breaks, they were way cheaper than most people. The majority of people, it's probably 99% of them. And just the price per card and the breaks and the value on the big teams, it was just. And I also like your personality. You say it how it is, and you're up front, and you're going to speak your opinion. You're a Cubs fan, so I've enjoyed seeing where you've gone and enjoy getting breaks. And that's part of my strategy when you hit it several times while we were talking just with grading. After the Cubs rookies had kind of gone, I quit buying Cubs and breaks, and I'm like, I love Bowman and Flagship and Chrome, and I like to prospect. So I would go, buy the Braves in Bowman's Best, or go buy the Rays in 2019 Bowman and hit some Wanders, right?
Right.
And then hold them and then grade them and prospect on them. I enjoyed that. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons we've getting back to part of my point too is in the hobby, we have been spoiled on the baseball side with some Judge and Bellinger in 17. In 18, that class is loaded across the board. In 19, that ended up being a monster set too. And 20 was pretty darn good, right? And then 21 comes along and people are all down. Oh, it's terrible. We don't know yet, but it wasn't like those last 4 years that somebody was just a stud out of the gate. And I think that's kind of slowed down with grading, on the baseball side of prospecting at least.
But I don't even think this is a bad class. That's the biggest
so
problem of it all. The problem is you had Ke'Bryan Hayes and Pache as front runners for the class somehow, and those are defensive first players. The hobby doesn't understand that. So not only that, your offensive guys like Bohm didn't show up. 2018, third overall pick. He'll be fine. I'm not panicking on him yet as a big league ball player. Then you have like Mountcastle over there in Baltimore. He got it going. He ended up putting together a good year. Bobby Dahlbeck, Red Sox, same thing. Great year for a rookie. The problem is the classes before them have set this outrageous all-star level standard as a major league rookie, and it's like, no, dude, those were special years. That's not happening every year, and then the fact that it happened back to back to back, you're not going to see that all the time.
No,
look at Mike Trout's rookie year. I wasn't in the hobby space in this capacity back then, but I'm sure nobody cared about Mike Trout after the 2011 season. It was probably somewhere around when he made that first catch in 2012 where he robbed the home run before people were probably like, huh. Because 2011, he was up and down a couple times. He didn't get a position. He didn't earn a position through an injury when he came up for an injury. And then when whomever got healthy and went back down. And, so even a guy that good, nobody was like, we can't miss on this guy out of the gate. Nobody was like, shit, we better buy all the Mike Trouts. They're like, no, he hit nothing. We don't care. So it's always that, who wants to take the risk now? People generally want to wait until they know for sure.
Yeah, I bought some update, but not as much as I usually buy this year. But I've been getting ready for Wander Mania 2022. I've been putting away money because Wander's hype behind him is monstrous, and it's hard to replicate that. He looks like a stud to me.
I sold all my Wander at spring training this year because I didn't. I started buying in the summer of 2020. I started buying Wanders, and I said, listen. He's going to make the big league roster because that's when I like to start prospecting, when I know that they're making a big league roster. I said, he's making a big league roster. I said, I don't even need to know if he's going to perform or not because when spring training comes around and the buzz gets there, I'm going to sell. And I doubled up on every Wander I bought. I bought them around 135 to 150 for first Chrome 10s. And I sold them all for 300. Every one of them. I got a few left, but I wasn't panicked when I didn't sell them. That's the thing. If you want to make a prospect move, buy as many, not as many as you can, as many as you think you can sell. You got to be honest with yourself because you can't buy 1,000 cards, even if you had the money, and turn around and sell them right now without either A, taking 70% like people will do and like you've done, or B, knowing somebody that's going to help you move them. Like, you can't buy more than what you can move. You got to have a plan to move them too. Anybody can have a plan to buy and collect. And then to go back, Joe Adell, whatever the hell's going on with him, he was supposed to be the man. I don't know. I never bought into the Joe Adell thing. But there was a lot of rookies this year that just didn't do what people wanted.
There's so many rookies. You just don't know. You don't know. So You put them in a box. People expect, like, people got spoiled during, especially the new collectors, if you want to call them collectors. They got spoiled where you could open product and pretty much make your money back, even on some bad boxes of stuff. Not all, but some products. And now that definitely isn't happening. And I enjoy going back and putting this stuff in boxes, opening like my update. Open my update, kept all the rookies, sorted them out, and I'm going to put them in a box and let them sit there. Parallels, all of it. It's going to sit there a while and then see what happens. And
just this summer, cleaning up the office, I found unsleeved 18 Chrome Update Acuñas and Sotos in boxes. I found them. I found the good ones, not the debuts. I found them just fucking sitting in boxes, man. You go, everybody right now after this podcast is over, go look in a box. Any box. Pick a box you got and look in it. You never know what's in there. There's no way on earth I would have thought that I had an unsleeved Soto, because I was on Soto from day one, and I'm still on them, and I'm still buying Sotos, and I'm not selling Sotos, and I didn't sell them when they were $500, and I should have to buy them back, as Brett said you could do with Tatis as well. But I'm so convinced that that guy is destined for greatness, that he more so than he's already had, that there's no way I'm moving him. And for me to go back in a box and find a Soto sitting around means that everybody's got something sitting in a box that they don't know about. I found like a 2011 update cards in a box. I didn't have any Trouts, but that just means I was buying cards at that time, but I didn't know nothing about Mike Trout. I didn't have one, but I had some cards from there. Back into the grading, dude. Is there anything else? Let's wrap this thing up.
Grade what you want to, have some fun. And I think more than anything now is, if you're new, make sure you're getting somebody who has looked at some cards to look over your cards, because, the days of $8, I mean, I'll never forget the very first cards I sent with Pav. I didn't even look at those cards.
Nope, I didn't either.
I just sent them to him, and for $8. But now with the prices, you really got to make sure that you're sending in quality cards at the prices you're going to grade them for. And what purpose do you have? Do you are you collecting them, or are you trying to flip them? That's a big difference to me of who you're going to grade them. Do you need to grade them at all? But I've definitely learned through doing tons, looking at cards, of using those tools like that we talked about earlier, lighting, getting a good light with the magnifying glass, and then just taking your time and looking at them multiple times, not just once, multiple times. But other than that, those are my best tips I can really give.
Yeah, with the eye loop or any type of magnification that Brett's talking about, you at least want 5 times on your zoom. 5 to 10 times is ideal. You don't need a microscope, but 5 to 10 times on your magnification for your zoom. I can't show you, but if we're doing a break, I actually put this on a camera lens sometimes to give people an idea of what they should be looking at. But 5 to 10 times is ideal for looking over your own stuff. But yeah, absolutely. If you've never graded cards before, see if you can find a friend or anyone who you trust their opinion enough, because that can be a difficult thing to do as well, where they'll give you their time and tell you what they think, or they can point things out to you. Say, hey, I don't like this for this reason, or this is what you should look for.
I've learned a lot by doing it this year. It's just like everything else. If you really want to get good at it, you got to do it and then see the results when they come back. And I've been able to see those results. And I put a goal out that I wanted 70% PSA 10s to come back. And I'm out of 951 cards, I've had 60% come back. And I feel pretty good about that, really. And there are some things I would do. I would be a little harder now, because with that with those first experience with Pav, it's like, okay, I didn't look at these cards and I sent them in, and most of those came back. Lots of those came back 10s. I mean, lots of them, which is surprising.
Right.
And then now it's like, okay, I don't want to be too hard, right? If there's just there are certain things on a card that they're almost impossible to see, and you catch you like, okay, I'm going to send that card. And I was letting some of those go. I might be a little tougher going forward.
Sure.
But those are some of my tips. I don't really have anything else. It's just I think experience really helps.
Yep.
But man, I appreciate it, Brad. This has been fun.
Yeah, man. Tell everybody where to find you. Plug your YouTube channel. It's just your name, right?
Just my name, Brett Commissary. That's how it got started, and
spelled just like it is on the screen. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, buddy.
That's all right. Hit me up on Facebook. Step in the box, baby.
Oh yes, step into the box. How could I forget? It's the best thing going. So yeah, friends, step into the box. A big thanks to Brett for coming on the show. If you guys watched this all the way through and you have any questions on anything he didn't touch on, or I didn't touch on, or Pav didn't touch on, I'm certain we can get Brett on here again if we need to, or if we just want to talk, because Brett's I like Brett. No weirdness about that, Brett. Don't.
Appreciate that, buddy.
Shout out to Tracker. Shout out to Windy City Disc Golf. YouTube.com. Brett Comensoli. He's there. He's stepping into the box quite often, ripping his own stuff, man. He's having a blast with the hobby. He's grading cards. He's a good, average, everyday person. He's not this rich suit and tie that came into the space and only cares about the bottom line. But he will clean off a retail shelf faster than
I wish I could find him.
Anybody. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great evening, a great day, all of that. Peace.